In a world where we finally have learned what I call the holy envy, it's a beautiful thing. I could think of myself as taking part in such an act, extending the blessings that have come to me in and through Jesus Christ. That's generous, that's beautiful, and should not be ridiculed or spoken badly of.
One of the principal things anyone would say about our temple experience and our temple work being a continuation of, but larger than earlier ancient temple work, is that this overwhelming component for the dead that could only begin with Christ's death and resurrection. He goes and opens the lock on the prison door for the dead.
We do vicarious work in the temple. That's an interesting word. It's, people wonder, well, how can you do that? Vicarious work. That means doing something for and in behalf of someone else. Can you really be baptized for someone else? Christ's whole ministry was vicarious. The atonement was vicarious. He did it for and in behalf of all who have ever lived. So he was acting for and in behalf of every human soul. So the vicarious work is a standard that is as legitimate and sound as can be.
One way or another, every prophet has taught that God is no respecter of persons, that we are all his children, that there is ultimately, in eternity, there is no distinction in race or color or circumstance or geography or whatever, and that he loves us all. It just seems to me the most logical thing in the world. If you just wanted to talk about being reasonable, if you just wanted to talk about being fair, if justice is any kind of an issue here, then every child of God has to have the opportunity for salvation, for the gifts of the Savior, for his atonement, which was a vicarious experience.
It is the central thesis of Christianity that Jesus Christ did for us something we could not do for ourselves. He both represented us and he did something that affects us as if we had done it. That's the way we receive deliverance from sin and transgression, and that's the way we receive the becoming process of overcoming even sinfulness until we no longer have the habits and or the desires for sin. That's a vicarious act the Savior, the Redeemer, does for us.
That's a beautiful way of letting the eternal mix into the temporal, which in a way is what Christianity is about.
Thus the idea of proxy service, as Christ exhibits it, becomes something we, in our limited way, can do for each other. That's both true love and true joy.
It's a very moving thing because if I understand it right, it is very family-oriented, producing the best genealogical material that the world has ever seen. It's family values to the hilt.
We trace our family lines first and are baptized for our progenitors, and that is for and in their behalf.